Thanks, Ann. What a rich subject for us to be discussing about aging. And I couldn't help but comment about the last discussion, which has as its core an element of cost minimization. And I think we need to enlarge our viewpoint of what is value, because we need to think about the value of adding another year to a person's productive life. That will not be measured in the budget of a healthcare system. And therefore, we are faced with, I think, a really important challenge about how do we consider innovations that really make a difference in people's lives. And one of the models that I think has come out of this panel and this conference, and we'll talk about on this panel, is maybe an early way to address this is to start with a working hypothesis on things we can value and use that as a fulcrum to improve improvements in a healthy lifespan. For instance, if diseases that cost society dollars today can be addressed and we can improve the span of quality life, that's a win-win. If we wait for near study and we wait for 5 years to have proof that there's actually something to do that we could do, or that value can be put on living a year in a more healthy state, we will have wasted those 5 years or 10 years, whatever it's going to take. So I think what you're going to hear today are some comments about how we might approach this. And, okay, which one? The right? There we go. A conventional view has sort of been like this. There's an overlay among all these diseases, and I don't mean to profess that this is a complete circle. What I'd like to put forth is that we think there is a substantial view that starts with dysfunctional energy that has multiple pathophysiological expressions, all of which come together in diseases that we have called across the body. But if you think about it, they are among the most major contributors to premature death. So one way of thinking about this is to attack this constellation of pathophysiology and address aging at the same time. Why do we have to call out aging as a special thing? I'm not arguing against doing that, but I think there is a clear path. And I think you're going to hear from the panelists here that there is hope in the translation of the problems of developing drugs, which have a high failure rate. There is hope that we can do both. So oops, that wasn't the right button. We know a lot about energy sensing targets, and this is going to be my swan song to pass it on to Dr. Stephen Goh with Novo. We know a lot more about energy sensing targets today, in part because we've studied diseases that have manifestations of defective energy processing. We know a lot more about how to address this on a more concept basis, as well as at the bench level. And here's the basic problem I think we face. So much of science has evolved around reductionist theory so that we reduce down to as much as we can a single cause and effect. We actually need to integrate back up and think about it in a horizontal view. So it's important to view AI as enabling us to get more precise judgment at that particular single point, but then to see the human interaction where it really matters at the top. Clinical research, doing work in humans, is really what ultimately matters. And I think you're going to hear some more about that.